Welcome to another edition of Hey Hey 5 and 5. I'm Larry Levin of the St. Louis Jewish Light, and with us today are two wonderful guests, Carolyne Amacher and Bob Olshan, St. Louis Co-chairs of Ameinu, a national group that describes itself as a, I hope I get this right, progressive Zionist organization that promotes peace, social justice, and pluralism in Israel and America through programs and advocacy. It's a mouthful, but I think that does justice to the organization. Right. Welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Israel a little bit. There have been many organizations that approached issues regarding Israel in the peace process from the so-called left side of the aisle. What void does Ameinu fill, or what additional value does Ameinu bring to the table in the dialogue? Why not simply work within the structure of another organization?
Well, Bob and I were talking about how the left, which we represent, is not as organized as, let's say, middle or right. And so what Ameinu offers is a voice for people who feel that they're more progressive, and what we stand for is a fully democratic Israel and a two-state solution.
Some, particularly those on the right side of the American political spectrum, have been claiming that others, that some Jews are not as, quote, pro-Israel as they are. What effect does this kind of advocacy have, both on American-Israeli relations and on the Jewish community in this country?
Well, I think it serves to separate us, and what we really need now is to be coming together more. I see a lot on the right side of really making it be that the left side is wrong or there's a split. I think one of the things that Ameinu really serves to, even though we're positioned on the left, we really want to have this voice and have open discussion and really engage people that have a strong bond with Israel.
What's your opinion about President Obama's administration and his efforts to build peace and democracy in the Middle East and the effects of those efforts on Israel? Either one of you.
Well, I voted for Obama. I think it's interesting because I struggle with it, to be quite honest. I think it's important that we not just be supportive of Israel, but we are open to what will it take to make peace? What will it take to help find peace in the Middle East? And it might not always be a strong, firm support for Israel, right or wrong. Whatever Obama could do to help foster that peaceful relationship, to strive, if we can make some strides towards peace instead of being in a stalemate like we are now, or maybe even getting worse with what's going on with the Arab Spring, if we can make positive moves at this time, I think would be helpful.
We just went through a great amount of public dialogue that was centered around the opera, The Death of Klinghoffer, which is about the murder by Palestinian terrorists of a disabled American Jew on a cruise ship. There's no question that some Palestinian activists, and we can, I guess, target in the right parlance, Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, and their financial backers, believe that continued violence targeted at civilians is justified. How do you break that cycle of thought and propaganda so it's not continually fed to the Palestinian people?
Well, first of all, one has to really go and engage in Israel to have a real perspective and to really roll up one's sleeves and make a difference.
From an Ameinu perspective, security is really important. But I believe, and this is a personal belief, that while we're building walls for security, we have to build bridges towards peace. And it's that building of those bridges that is a response to those terrorists and to those politicians, so that the rest of the world can see that there is another way, and that we are not just trying to combat that, but we need to be able to show that we do care about the Palestinian people, we do care about their future, but we certainly won't do anything to stop the violence.
We've certainly seen intolerance from segments of the Jewish community toward not only non-Jews, but fellow Jews. For instance, a couple of years ago, we saw some ultra-religious Jews beat up a woman in a public bus in Israel for refusing to surrender her seat to a man. How do these kinds of absurd and tragic cultural divides get bridged?
I have walked down a street with children throwing stones or driven Shabbos. Yeah, I look around me, what I really see is 99% of Jerusalem is peaceful during those moments of Shabbat. So I think we all have to embrace the center and know that in every culture and every religion there are extremists.
So one of the ways we tried to respond is we brought in a speaker a couple of years ago, and he really stands in Israel for religious pluralism. And that's one of the fundamental beliefs of Ameinu. And trying to combat that stranglehold that the religious parties have in Israel. So whatever we can do with the Labor Party or with other organizations to try to promote religious pluralism, we will do.
Well, I can't thank you both enough for being with us today. Thank you so much for speaking about Ameinu and your own personal experiences. This is Larry Levin. Until next time, take care.